Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks. Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Continuing Education, Certificate Programs, Certificate in Apparel Merchandising, CAPMER, BHC05 Basics of Apparel Industry and Entrepreneurship, Block 4, Unit-13, Communication Skills. 13.0, Objectives. Right from the time of our birth till the time we are alive, we have the urge to communicate. Communication can be done by means of sounds, signals, gestures, music, language, and by other means as well, and hence communication is both an art and a science. Communication, in fact, is perhaps the most important of all life skills that we humans possess, and it may take a lifetime to master this skill. However, there are many things that we can do to communicate effectively. This unit provides an introduction to communication skills, by the end of which you should be able to explain the communication process, describe the principles and types of communication, understand the importance of communication in the business environment, analyze the communication process, appreciate the barriers and how they hinder effective communication, apply the methods of effective communication in written, oral, verbal and nonverbal communication, and develop skills to become effective communicators and managers. 13.1, Introduction. In the previous unit, you have read about the various skills which are essential for a merchandiser working in the apparel trade. In this unit, we will study the importance of communication for a successful organization, as well as how to develop good communication skills that are essential for effective merchandising. The term communication originates from the Latin word communis, which means common. Thus, the word communication means to establish a common ground of understanding or meaning. Communication can be defined as an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions or emotions between two or more persons, so that each gets a common understanding of the message. It is a bridge of meaning between two people. It is the most vital ingredient of business operations in an organization. Like the nervous system of the body, communication penetrates every aspect of the organization. To communicate, you need at least two people or parties, which are classified as sender, receiver. The process of communication has the following characteristics. It is two-way traffic, upward and downward or horizontal. It is a continuous and dynamic process. It needs proper understanding. It leads to the achievement of an objective. 13.2, Process of communication. Communication is a two-way process that enables an exchange of information through the below-mentioned steps. The process of communication starts with conceptualizing an idea or message by the sender and ends with feedback from the receiver. Figure 13.2. 1. Ideation. The sender thinks of an idea to communicate a message to be generated. 2. Encoding. The message is composed using symbols that have a certain meaning for the sender and receiver. Encoding is the translation of the idea into a message. The mode of communication is also selected here. For example, mail, letter, newspaper, SMS, etc. 3. Transmission is conveying the message via the chosen medium. 4. Receiving message by the receiver. Decoding is translating the message. It is the opposite of encoding. It leads to understanding of the message. Action refers to the response of the receiver, who may act as directed/wanted or may ignore the message. Figure 13.2, Process of communication. Look at the screen for table content. Elements of communication. The communication process consists of the following elements or components. Context, or the stimulus that prompts sender to generate a message. It may also be the objective of the message. Sender/encoder/source of idea decides on what is the message, who is the receiver, which channel is appropriate to get the desired response. Message, or the core idea the sender wishes to communicate. It includes deciding what words to use, which details to include, etc. Medium/channel of transmission depends on context and nature of message and the relationship between sender and receiver. Receiver/decoder is the person for whom the message is intended. The interpretation, however, varies with receiver's views and experiences. Effect/feedback is the effect the message has on the receiver. It can be oral or written, an action or simply silence. 13.3 Organizational communication. Literary writing expresses the writer's feelings, while business writing has a purpose, aiming to serve one of the many purposes of an organization. Business needs people who can communicate well. Poor communication can cost an organization a lot of time and money. Effective business communication with other organizations helps create a good reputation and build goodwill for the organization. Following model, Figure 13.1, can explain the broad communication process. Figure 13.1, Model of communication. Look at the screen for table content. Objectives of organizational communication. There are manifold objectives which are as under. Conveying the right message to the right person is the main objective of starting the process of communication. To direct an action, example, we will have the meeting at 3 p.m. to explain or justify actions already taken in the organization. Coordinating the activities and efforts of all employees of an organization. Policies and procedures of an organization are conveyed to the workforce via proper communication. Good communication aims at improving relations between the people involved. Cultivating positive relations is critical to successful communication. Any communication that does not improve relations is not considered effective. Communication is a tool of developing managerial skills by understanding human behavior better. It is an important leadership quality. Scope of organizational communication. The scope of communication is very wide. In addition to sharing of information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, rules and regulations of the organization, the scope includes feedback to employees on their performance and goals. Control over systems and procedures is ensured by proper communication. Influencing people and the workforce. Managerial functions of problem solving, finding alternatives, managing conflicts and decision-making are facilitated by communication. Organizational communication has some limitations too. The main limitation is that the message can easily be distorted. Distortion changes the meaning of the message and may have the following consequences. Message received may not be the same as message sent. Nonverbal message does not match with verbal message. Desired response is not received. Sometimes, one or more of the above may lead to confusion, thereby adversely affecting the organization or business. 13.4 Types of communication. To enhance your understanding, communication may be classified based on a number of different parameters as shown in Figure 13.3. Let us discuss each of these in detail along with their merits and demerits. Figure 13.3 Classification of communication. Look at the screen for table content. Classification based on the direction of communication. 1. Downward communication. As the name suggests, this flows from higher level to lower level, from senior to subordinate. It usually includes policies, procedures, feedback on performance, and specifies the extent of responsibility and authority of each individual. Merits. Used to convey orders, work instructions, policies, rules, procedures and other information within the organization. Role and responsibility of each employee is clearly defined. Performance feedback can be given. Demerits. Since the information passes through various levels, it gets increasingly distorted at each level by the time it reaches the intended junior. 2. Upward communication. This flows from lower level to higher level, i.e. from subordinate to senior, and usually includes feedback in response to communication started by the senior. It also includes voluntary communication, ideas, complaints, suggestions, opinions, reaction to rules, personal problems. Merits. Management understands the workforce better. Develops confidence in subordinates that their opinions are valued. Demerits. Can easily be ignored or distorted at the various levels through which it passes. General belief that management is not interested and will not respond. Tends to travel very slowly, it is delayed and filtered at every level. Managers are busy with other more important issues. Barriers in upward communication. The demerits of upward communication form a major barrier in upward communication. If upward communication is poor, management will lose touch with employees and lack correct information to make right decisions. How to improve upward communication? Upward communication can be improved by following the guidelines given below. Management should encourage upward communication by holding informal meetings, carrying out employee attitude and opinion surveys, etc. Management should try to remove the barriers and build trust. Have a counseling or grievance cell. Conduct job satisfaction surveys. Follow an open door policy, wherein any employee is allowed to access the senior-most people. This will remove the social and psychological barriers of the subordinates. Participation in social groups, picnic, Diwali party, sports events lead to spontaneous information sharing and team building. Encourage employees to write feedback and give suggestions to improve both the work systems as well as the work environment. It can be done both openly and confidentially. 3. Horizontal communication. Horizontal communication takes place between employees of same level or hierarchy. Merits. It makes coordination easier, adds friendliness by increasing the level of interaction. Demerits. Differences cannot be sorted easily as all members are of same seniority. Classification based on the method of expression. 1. Oral communication. Oral communication is sometimes also referred to as verbal communication, and consists of the spoken words and conversations. It includes face-to-face discussions, telephone calls, lectures, conferences and meetings. Merits. It is the fastest form of communication, saves time and money. It is more effective since we can see non-verbal cues also. We can get immediate feedback, hence effectiveness can be immediately measured. Generates sense of participation and motivates the members involved. Demerits. No proof exists of oral communication. It is not suitable for lengthy messages since it is not humanly possible to remember all the details. There are more chances of misunderstanding and giving wrong facts/numbers in oral communication. 2. Written communication. Written communication is used when messages are lengthy, permanent or in cases where oral communication cannot reach everyone. It includes emails, letters, circular, memo, manuals, charts, graphs and pictures. Merits. Written communication can be stored for future reference. It is an efficient mode for long-distance communication and when multiple receivers are involved. Since written messages are more organized, they give accurate information. Demerits. Writing a message is time-consuming since it needs to be well organized. It is not a flexible mode. It is not possible to keep written communication confidential all the time. All ideas or thoughts, especially emotions, cannot be put into words. Hence written communication cannot be used in such situations. You will study about written, oral and nonverbal communication further in detail in this unit. 3. Direct communication. Direct communication is a focused, straightforward communication wherein the speaker clearly expresses his true intentions verbally and the words are literally interpreted. They say what they think. Merits. Helps the speaker to express his feelings explicitly, leaving less room for misinterpretation by the receiver as the information is transferred directly. Immediate feedback from the listener is possible. Demerits. As the message is very straightforward, it can hurt the intended recipient. Inappropriate for large-sized audience. Ineffective if the listener is not attentive. 4. Indirect communication. Indirect communication not just includes spoken words but also nonverbal behaviors like pauses, silence, tone of voice, etc. In this type of communication, speakers' true intentions are hidden. Merits. Avoids conflict and uncomfortable situations as the communicator shows subtlety. Allows the speaker to edit and adjust the message depending on the feedback. Forces the receiver to become a better listener, to pay attention, to understand body language and nonverbal behavior. Demerits. Meaning can be misconstrued as there is enough room for misinterpretation of message. Classification based on the organizational structure. 1. Formal communication. When communication takes place through officially recognized paths or proper channels established by management, it is termed as formal communication. It is also referred to as chain or line of command. Merits. This method helps maintain authority since responsibility is clearly specified. It results in good relations between senior and subordinate. Demerits. Action for unforeseen events cannot be formalized. Increases workload of the superiors. Since the message passes through more levels, more points of filtering leading to more chances of misunderstanding. Results in delays due to time lag at each level. No direct contact between top executives and lowest ranks. 2. Informal communication or grapevine. When communication flows without a planned channel, it is termed as informal communication. There is no formality and communication is spontaneous. It is a result of the natural desire of people to communicate. Thus, informal communication is a part of an organization which cannot be removed or stopped. The term grapevine is used because, like the vine of the grape plant, informal communication rapidly spreads in the organization, in utter disregard of the levels of authority and linking members in any direction. The general perception is that grapevine is harmful, but grapevine can be used effectively by a smart manager. Merits. Grapevine travels at a fast pace, is dynamic and reacts fast. It is multi-dimensional in terms of direction and degree of communication. The biggest advantage is that informal channels can be used to supplement the formal channels, if used properly. Demerits. It may comprise of rumors and lies which have no authentication. Hence cannot take action based on it. Messages conveyed through informal channels have greater chances of distortion. 13.5 Principles of Communication, Barrier and Feedback. 7 C's of Effective Communication. Principles of communication provide guidelines for choice of content and medium of communication, presentation of facts, adapted to the purpose and receiver of the message. These 7 principles, figure 13.4, are applicable to all forms of communication, not only in the business context, but also in our day-to-day lives. Figure 13.4, Principles of Communication. Look at the screen for table content. Completeness. A message is complete when it contains all relevant facts to transmit the required understanding and gets the desired reaction. Provide all the details required by ensuring your message answers 5 W's and 1 H: who, when, what, where, why, how. Thus, the message has to be planned and structured. If the message answers all questions that can be asked in response to your message, then it is considered complete. Conciseness. The word concise means be brief. Thus, the principle of conciseness means that the message should be brief, concise and to the point. A concise message is more interesting and saves time. Avoid repetition and give only the relevant details. Get to the point directly, yet tactfully. Considerate. The principle of considerate means that the sender should prepare the message with the receiver in mind. The message should show honest and sincere consideration for the receiver. The focus should be on you and not we. This shows the receiver that you are interested in her/his welfare. It should highlight the positive aspects of the message. For example, negative tone: we do not refund if the returned item is used. Positive tone: we will refund if the returned item is unused. Concreteness. The term concrete means to be specific, instead of being vague or general. Merits of being concrete are: it decreases chances of misunderstanding. Receiver knows exactly what is desired by the sender. Makes the message more interesting. Concreteness can be achieved by the following means. Choose vivid, image-building words that appeal to the senses. For example, the weather was cool and pleasant. Use concrete facts and figures. Use charts and graphs where possible to add to the data given. For example, general: most of the students were absent today. Concrete: -70% of the students were absent today. Comparative words like small, early, soon, almost, about are relative terms and not specific, hence, can be misleading. Use active verbs rather than passive verbs. For example, passive verb: your report was read by the president. Active verb: the president read your report. Put action in verbs rather than nouns. For example, action in noun: the managers held the meeting in the conference room. Action in the verb: the managers met in the conference room. Clarity. The principle of clarity aims to ensure that the message is clear to the receiver. This can be achieved by balance between precise language and familiar language. In addition, choose precise words. When in doubt, use simple words instead of long, unfamiliar words. Construct effective sentences and paragraphs by bearing in mind the following points. Length of the sentence is important. The average length should be 17 to 20 words for middle-level readers. The concept of unity means one main idea in the sentence as well as the paragraph. Coherence, logical arrangement of words in the sentence to convey idea clearly. Emphasis lay force on important parts in sentence structure. Courtesy. The principle of courtesy means the sender has to be aware of others' feelings and perspectives. It refers to courtesy that stems from respect and concern for others. Using a courteous tone means saying it without being rude and being tactful, especially in negative messages. The aim of communication is to build goodwill, hence courtesy is important. Avoid the use of words that differentiate between people on basis of sex, color or nation. For example, to use police officer instead of policeman, labor instead of manpower. Use non-discriminatory expressions. For example, if a customer pays promptly, he is placed on our preferred list. Suggested a customer who pays promptly is placed on our preferred list. Correctness. The principle of correctness emphasizes the use of proper grammar, spellings and punctuation. Term correctness for business messages means using the correct level of language, formal, informal, substandard. Accuracy of facts, figures and words. Verify data before using. Do not use words that confuse or are ambiguous. For example, accept and accept, affect and effect, between and among. In-text activity 1. A merchandiser was not able to clear the interview with the senior HR person. You must notify her/him, but you wish to be tactful. Write the sentence that best meets the goal. Barriers to communication. A barrier is anything that hinders effective communication, figure 13.5. It may be an obstruction, interruption or even a noise. Noise is any unplanned hindrance which stops transmission of a message. Noise is a type of barrier, but the two terms mean different things. Barrier is a hindrance in the receiver's understanding of the message in the same perspective as intended by the sender. A barrier affects the message in either or all of the following ways. Distortion, change context or meaning of the message. Filtering, reduce the message to few details. Omission, deletion of all or a part of the message. Figure 13.5. Types of barriers to communication. Look at the screen for table content. External barriers. Semantic. The term semantic denotes the study of the meaning of words, signs, and symbols. Semantic barriers are caused in process of understanding a message. Words and symbols may have numerous meanings, thus it is important to know the context of the message. Emotional or psychological. These barriers arise from attitudes, judgment, emotions and values of the receiver. They create a psychological barrier by filtering or distorting the message, leading to misinterpretation. Premature evaluation of the sender as well as the message is a barrier. Distrust of communicator is another major barrier. We also refer to it as the halo effect, wherein the rapport between the sender and receiver plays a big role in how the message is interpreted. Cultural. Culture is a very strong determinant of human behavior. Cultural differences are evident in social life, business ethics, lifestyle and religion. Cross-cultural differences manifest in areas like behavior, etiquettes, norms, values, expressions and nonverbal cues and lead to differences in management styles and corporate culture. Thus, elementary knowledge of culture of countries one is dealing with is very important. In practice, it is always the seller who must adapt to the buyer's culture. Various aspects like body language, punctuality, politeness, mannerisms, business dressing, business entertaining, all get affected by cultural differences. Different attitudes are prevalent, for example deal focus versus relationship focus, expressive or reserved, etc. Personal barriers. Communication is an interpersonal process. Personal barriers arise due to different backgrounds, viewpoints, experiences, attitudes, emotions, social values, and status. Each person's mind is a unique filter, Thus each person understands the same message in a slightly different way. Personal barriers exist with respect to superiors and subordinates. The former has already been discussed as barriers in upward communication. Intrapersonal barriers. These are internal to the communicator, one's own thoughts or observations. They include wrong assumptions, varied perceptions and different backgrounds. These can be overcome by knowing the background of your audience, putting yourself in the shoes of listener and taking a wider perspective. Interpersonal barriers. These occur in interactions between individuals. Few people are involved and immediate feedback is possible. Limited vocabulary, emotional outbursts, cultural variations and poor listening are various reasons. Organizational barriers. These consist of the organization structure, the flow of communication, level of formality required in the firm and the method of policy formulation. Hierarchy and complexity of organization structure. Information overload due to a formal communication method leads to too many transfer stations which distort the message and information overload. Rules and regulations delay the message and deter juniors to convey the message. Feedback. Feedback is communicating feelings, reactions and perceptions to a person regarding her/his style of work, behavior and its effect. Feedback discusses impressions and ideas of a person or her/his work. It includes talking to a junior on her/his performance and discussing with a senior on how he can improve his interpersonal skills. Like communication, feedback also requires two persons/parties. Thus, it has two dimensions: give and take feedback. Functions of feedback. Increases effectiveness. Provides data about a person's behavior and its effect on others. Increases self-awareness so that one can improve oneself. Encourages openness and trust. Effective feedback. Effectiveness depends on the feedback provider and feedback receiver. Feedback should be given and received with openness and sensitivity to make it a fruitful exercise. In addition, the 7 Cs should also be followed. Feedback provider. Feedback should be descriptive and not judgmental or evaluative. Descriptive feedback: your remark made me angry. Judgmental feedback: your behavior was not proper. Focus on behavior of a person and not the person. Think about what can be improved or changed. Focus on behavior: your remark made me unhappy. Evaluative feedback: you are smart. Feedback should be data-based, specific and not based on impressions. Cross-check and verify feedback before giving. Reinforce positive behavior so that it can become part of the personality. For example, I am glad you took the initiative. Feedback should be given in a suggestive tone, it should not be prescriptive. Feedback should be well-timed, continuous and reinforced whenever possible. Please remember a golden rule: there should be a need for the feedback so that the receiver is motivated and receptive to the feedback. Motivation of feedback giver is important in determining the effectiveness. Feedback receiver. Let us first try to understand the reaction of the person receiving the feedback. Suppose I am your senior and tell you that you have not performed well in the last task given to you. What will your immediate reaction be? You will either try to deny it or think of some reason why the task could not be done better. This is called rationalization. Negative feedback results in self-defense, anxiety, resentment, anger and leads to conflict. It also leads to withdrawal, instead of expression of feelings, which in turn results in loss of interest and decrease in interaction with the feedback giver. Thus, instead of indulging in rationalization, the receiver should undertake a self-analysis wherein he tries to analyze how one could have performed better. Displacement is another type of defensive behavior wherein the feedback giver is stronger or more powerful than the receiver. Thus, receiver can't show anger and resentment and vents it out on someone less powerful. Exploration is opposite of displacement, wherein the receiver will explore the reason for negative feedback and try to improve oneself. Effective communication. Communication is considered to be effective only if it creates the desired impact on the receiver or it evicts the desired action from the receiver. If the communication fails to evoke the desired response, then 1. Identify the problem. 2. Find the cause of not getting the desired response. 3. Work on the alternative solutions and choose the best solution. 4. Follow up religiously to ensure necessary corrective steps are taking place. In-text activity 3. If you are a mid-level merchandiser in an export house, what would you do to ensure that your communication with others is effective? 13.6. Written communication. The concept of adaptation of a message to the reader is extremely important, especially in written communication. The term adaptation in communication means fitting the message to your intended readers. Putting our receiver at the heart of the communication is the best strategy for success. In today's busy world, one needs to follow the proverb write fewer, but better messages. Let us understand this better by an example. In ABC Export House, the buyer from Spain has mailed the merchandiser that the tech pack of a new style is to be developed. The merchandiser takes a printout of it and hands it over to the pattern master, since pattern master may not have a computer system. The master, in turn, writes down all details of tech pack in Hindi, along with diagrams of sewing to issue to the tailor. How to adapt to the reader. Visualize your readers. How they think. 2. What they know. 3. Their education level. 4. Their viewpoints and outlook. Then write for the receiver, bearing the above points in mind. Aim a little below the level of reader because reading is best when it does not tax the mind. When adapting your message to multiple readers, write the language initializing the bottommost level. This will ensure that all the readers will understand the message. Tips for good writing. We have already discussed this aspect earlier in this unit, under the principle of clarity. Let us revisit the same for easy reference. Write short sentences using about 17 to 20 words per sentence. Break up long sentences and combine very small sentences. Prefer the short, familiar word to the long, unfamiliar word. Select words with appropriate strength. Remove extra words and avoid repetition by including only necessary information. Relate ideas for sentence unity. Create right effect by emphasizing contents. Use technical words and acronyms, short forms like CAD, TOP, only when you are sure the receiver knows the full form. Use concrete words and active voice. Achieve clarity and precision by selecting the right words and using idioms correctly. Eliminate the offending word. 1. Use words that do not discriminate. 2. Avoid sexist words. 3. Avoid words that lower one's status. 4. Use positive language. Avoid negative words. Use a neutral expression. For example, vague/general. This procedure requires a constant low temperature. Concrete. This process requires a constant temperature of 10 degrees centigrade. Vague/general. The company faced a significant loss. Concrete. The company faced a loss of 25%. The process of writing begins with planning. 1. Determine the objective. 2. Predict your reader's reaction. Gather needed information. Analyze and organize information. Write the first draft of the message. Rewriting, edit, proofread and revise. Email, structure, drafting and emailing etiquettes. Electronic mail or email is the most commonly used mode of communication in the business world today. Its importance is increasing day by day. The reasons for its popularity are manifold. Advantages of email. Emails eliminate huge telephone bills. It is easy to use and saves time. Speeds up decision-making since it is a faster mode of communication. Email provides a written record. Environment-friendly as it uses up less paper and can be filed in the computer itself. Disadvantages of email. An email is not confidential. It does not have any authoritative signature. Doesn't show emotions, feelings and non-verbal cues. May be delayed or ignored by the recipient. Structure of email. Standard elements of an email are 2. CC, carbon copy. BCC, blind carbon copy. Subject. Message. Attachments. It is important to understand the difference between 2, CC and BCC. The person who is being addressed in the email and who has to take action in response to the email will be put in the 2 section. CC section will have email-ins of people who are supposed to be informed of this email, but they do not have to take any action on its contents. BCC section is used only when the email has to be marked to a person, usually a senior, without the knowledge of those in the to UnCC list. Rules for organizing the message are: always write the most important topic first. The remaining topics are arranged in descending order. The sender has to decide the writing style to be followed depending on the reader. 3 general writing styles exist. Casual writing style is acceptable between acquaintances. Informal style retains some casual qualities. Formal style maintains a distance between the writer and the reader. In general, the email is a less formal mode than letters. Beginning the email. Write name of recipient, first name if acquainted. Generic greetings are used sometimes. Letter salutations are rarely used in emails. Purpose and company may sometimes be useful. Closing the email message. Usually just the writer's name at the end of the email is sufficient. In more formal messages, closing statement may be appropriate. For example, thanks or regards. Traditional letter closes like sincerely are sometimes used in formal messages. Emailing etiquettes. Think of who should be addressed and who needs to be marked in CC and BCC. Put key topic in subject line. Subject line should be apt to the issue you want to address. Cover one topic per mail. Limit the topics being addressed on any mail. Make sure all points regarding that topic are covered. Structure the email logically in a planned manner. Never use all capitals for any part of the email, except when you want to emphasize a certain point in the email. Edit and spell check before sending, as this gives a good impression. Avoid flaming, which means replying an email in a rude tone or under emotional stress. Write when you are calm. Always acknowledge an email, even though you may not have the answers available right away. Acknowledge the email and give a date by when you will be able to revert with the desired information or answers. Use email as a tool to enhance communication, not as a replacement for communication. In-text activity 4. Write an email to an old colleague of yours who is working in a big buying house, recommending your friend for a merchandiser's job. Direct and indirect method of writing. The method of writing has to be adapted based on the receiver as well as the content of the message. Before writing a message, predict the reader's probable reaction: positive, neutral or negative. For positive or neutral messages, use directness. For negative messages, use indirect mode. A direct writing plan is used in good news situation, that is, if reader's reaction will be positive or neutral. It can be used for routine inquiries, order acknowledgements and claims. Claims are a special case. Though they carry bad news, they are written in direct order because reader wants to know how to correct the product and or service, and directness adds to the strength of the claim. Indirect writing plan is used in bad news messages since the bad news will be received more positively when preceded by an explanation. Reasoning should be convincing so that by the end of the message the reader is prepared to receive the bad news in most favorable manner. A neutral statement preceding the bad news acts as a strategic buffer. For example, acknowledge receipt of the reader's previous message. Try to offer alternate solutions and show concern. Always end the message on a positive note. 13.7 Oral communication. The definition, merits and demerits of oral communication have already been dealt in the previous section of this unit, refer to section 13.4. Even though written communication needs a lot of planning, oral communication takes up most of our time. Meetings, briefing, group discussion, conferences, phone calls, lectures and oral reporting form a major chunk of a business setup. The main purpose of oral communication is to inform or instruct and to persuade. Factors inhibiting oral communication. Different experiences and backgrounds of the speaker and listener lead to different perceptions, thus leading to different understanding of the same message. Often, the message sender fails to convey the information the listener needs and can understand. Our stereotypes, beliefs and emotional state influence what we hear and how we understand the message. Words have different meaning for different cultures. The human tendency to evaluate and judge others is one of the biggest barriers of interpersonal communication. Problems in oral communication. Physical problem encountered in accurate transmission of message is very important, especially in oral communication. Noise in transmission channel, redundant information and repetition all lead to this. Semantic problem, language, symbols and signs used to convey desired meaning often mean different things to different groups of people. This problem is heightened across cultures. Psychological problem, perceived meaning based on perceptions, past experiences, education level, culture, religion, economic background. Every person has a different perception filter leading to varied perceptions. Listening. Since communication is a two-way process, the sender and receiver both have to be completely involved. This is especially true for oral communication, wherein the listener needs to understand the message while it is being spoken. Unlike written messages, the listener may not be able to review the oral communication, thus will miss out on a few important aspects of the message. Listening is just not hearing words. It involves hearing with understanding, sensing the thoughts, feelings and emotions being conveyed and remembering the same. Active listening involves asking questions, seeking further details and clarifications. Listening requires more mental effort and concentration than speaking. The main role of a merchandiser is to communicate and coordinate between different groups, be it buyer and supplier, or the production team and sampling team. Thus, it is important to improve your listening ability and concentration level. Problems in listening. Humans think much faster than we speak. When a person is speaking, the listener's mind starts to wander and misses some important points. We tend to listen to words and not ideas behind these words. Biggest barrier is perception of speaker and situation. Moreover, taking notes while hearing reduces the capacity to listen and retain the facts. Environmental noise such as sounds of traffic, transmission problems and other disturbances hinder effective listening. Effective listening can be attained by following some of the guidelines given below. Listen patiently even if you don't agree. Try to grasp verbal as well as emotional content of message. People don't express feelings well enough. Ask open-ended questions to encourage getting more facts. Observe body language of speaker and take note of voice tone. Don't be defensive. Don't interrupt a discussion. First let speaker complete, then interject with your questions. How to make oral communication more effective. Remember the proverb, speak less but say more. This should be the mantra for effective oral communication. For oral communication, timing is crucial. The speaker should pay attention to the tone of voice and modulation while talking. The listener should support oral communication with actions to show sincerity and interest. Be attentive, lean forward, nod your head, make eye contact. Telephone etiquettes. As merchandisers, you will be spending a considerable amount of time on the phone, talking to buyers, buying offices, fabric and trim suppliers. Moreover, in a teleconversation, only sound is involved, hence, telephone etiquettes are utmost important. Your voice should sound pleasant and friendly. Be courteous on the phone. Plan in advance regarding all the points that you need to discuss, so that you give the impression of being organized and in control. When you call someone, please immediately introduce yourself and state the purpose of your call. Try not to put the caller on hold for long as everyone has a busy schedule. Do not interrupt as it will break up the chain of thought. End the conversation with adapted goodwill. When calling up buyers or suppliers overseas, be aware of the time zone so that you are not disturbing the receiver. It is always a good idea to summarize your teleconversation in an email. 13.8 Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal means without the use of words. Nonverbal communication is transmission of meaning from one person to another using non-word symbols like gestures, signs, body movements, facial expressions and voice tone. We have often heard the proverb actions speak louder than words. This is the essence of nonverbal communication. Importance of nonverbal communication. The importance of nonverbal communication lies in the fact that often these speak more accurately than words. It can be used to reinforce and supplement verbal communication. Nonverbal cues influence our perception and understanding of the verbal message. Its knowledge strengthens our communicative competence. Some studies suggest that more than 60% of the effect of a message comes from nonverbal cues. Types of nonverbal communication. Body language. It includes gestures, facial expressions, postures, and even the volume and pitch of voice. These reveal hidden emotions and messages and may very often even contradict the verbal message. In such a situation, we follow our gut feeling to evaluate the person and the situation. A word of caution: though gestures, posture, movement, facial expressions are culture-specific, here we need to still be doubly sure before reaching a conclusion. Let us look at some examples of nonverbal communication. A frown shows displeasure and unhappiness. Raised eyebrows show disbelief or amazement. Drooping eyes are an indication of sadness and disappointment. Yawning shows boredom. Crossed arms represent a defensive posture. Eye-to-eye contact shows interest and confidence. Blinking eyes rapidly indicate poor confidence. A soft voice has a soothing effect, while a high-pitched voice shows enthusiasm and excitement. Appearance. Why do we dress up carefully for a party or an interview? This is because we want to make an impression. An impression affects the receiver even before the verbal conversation starts. Personal appearance, clothing, hairstyle, neatness, and posture all speak volumes about the person. Similarly, people pay great amount of attention to office stationery because the appearance of the envelope will also speak about the company before the receiver opens it. The length, format, neatness and language of the email or letter will convey a lot about the sender to the receiver. Silence, time, and space. Ever been to a parent with a request that has been met with silence? Don't you agree that silence speaks? What is our reaction when we have to wait for 2 hours more than the scheduled time for a job interview or doctor's appointment? We conclude that the office or the clinic are disorganized and do not respect our time. Space refers to the distance between the speaker and the other person. It can be personal space, 18 inches to 4 feet, social, 4 to 12 feet, or public, more than 12 feet. The aspects of silence, time and space also form part of nonverbal communication. Concepts of time and space are culture-specific and a good communicator needs to be aware of the cultural differences before interacting with people of varied cultures. Guidelines for developing nonverbal communication skills. Interpret nonverbal clues in relation to the situation and culture accurately. Establish and maintain eye contact. Maintain body posture to show interest. Probe for more information when you perceive contradictory nonverbal signals. Merchants usually deal with buyers from different countries. To understand the body language and gestures of different cultures, read about them and try to interact with people from diverse cultural backgrounds. In order to improve your own body language, stand in front of the mirror and talk. You may also observe yourself on videotape to find out areas of improvement. 13.9 Skills. In this section we will discuss the skills required by merchandisers to communicate with a large audience which may comprise of the management, buyers and colleagues. The common advantages of acquiring public speaking, presenting and report writing skills are: communicating to a group at one go. These can be used as a forum for discussion, thus, may be used to persuade the audience and gain commitment. Can gather immediate feedback from the group via these modes. Public speaking skills. Public speaking may include a formal speech, an oral presentation to your boss or a presentation. In public speaking, the main inhibiting factor is the fear to speak in front of an audience. The main steps can be listed as below. Determine the objective of the public speaking activity. Analyze the audience, their background and knowledge level. The knowledge of the audience is crucial to effective public speaking and the speaker has to adapt the speech as per the audience. Research the topic well. Find facts, data, examples, and statistics to support your views and arguments. Organize the data and then start writing the speech. A good speech has 3 parts. An interesting or catchy introduction to grab the attention of the audience. 5 to 10% of the time the body gives relevant data and evidence. 80 to 90% of the time the conclusion or summary may draw inferences from the body of the speech. 5 to 10% of the time visual aids and graphs can add an interesting element to the speech. The speaker must rehearse well before the final speech. This will help increase confidence and reduce stage fright and anxiety. He must also pay importance to her/his appearance and body language, details of which have already been discussed in the previous section on nonverbal communication. Audience analysis has to be done while delivering the speech also. Audience response helps the speaker to gauge their reaction and feedback. Presentation skills. A presentation is a tool to convey ideas verbally in a less formal manner, usually using audio-visual aids to enhance the effect, followed by answering questions raised by the audience. PowerPoint is commonly used nowadays. Parts of a presentation. Introduction, which prepares the audience to be receptive. Narrative tells the story and is the heart of the matter. Argument presents the supporting logic by giving facts and figures. It is a good idea to use pictures and graphs to convince the audience. Even though a number of arguments may be applicable, stick to only 3 to 4 main arguments, else it becomes too long drawn. During the refutation, the speaker answers the audience's objections and supports their topic. Conclusion or summarizing is the final appeal to the audience. Preparing the presentation. Define objective of the presentation, inform or persuade. Understand the audience so that you can customize your presentation. Decide what to say and identify possible arguments. Getting organized, plan how to add interest and make it more appealing. Develop effective visuals, pictures, slides, charts, handouts. Rehearse and practice before presenting. Decide dress code if it is a formal presentation. Guidelines to an effective presentation. Needless to say, the presentation should be adapted as per the audience. When the audience is mixed or unknown, include something for everyone. Do not talk from the slides, use notes only if you have to. Face your audience when presenting. Reduce filler language or non-words like Make eye contact with the audience. Avoid defensive body language, like folding arms. Watch the audience for nonverbal cues and immediately respond by making changes during the presentation itself. Engage listeners at a deeper level by adding emotional component, if applicable, and use personal pronouns like we, you, our, etc. Report writing. A business report is an orderly communication of factual information that serves a business purpose. A report should be planned and logical, having an unbiased approach. Reports can be information reports which present only facts, analytical reports which give interpretations and conclusions, and recommendation reports give advice for future action. The critical parts of a good report are: reader-centered beginning, should introduce reader to the contents of the report. Should convey what you did, how and what you found out and its use to the reader. Ending, summary of your findings along with conclusion and recommendations. The report should be a continuous story, smoothly connecting different parts of the report. The writing style should not draw attention away from the information. Conducting business meetings and negotiations. A meeting is a gathering of 2 or more people for a specific purpose. It can be a formal or an informal meeting. Meetings can be informational, wherein some information is shared with the participants, or in a problem-solving meeting wherein the participants think about various potential solutions to a business problem. A problem-solving meeting requires a good leader who can steer the meeting to its desired end. Problem-solving meetings are the most common and significant and will be referred to in this section. Preparing for a problem-solving meeting. 1. Background analysis needs to be done of the problem by the participants of the meeting, for which facts and data needs to be collected beforehand. 2. Make a list of the possible alternatives or solutions to the problem at hand. This is usually done by brainstorming, a technique which includes coming up with ideas without being judgmental. 3. Each of these ideas is then evaluated for feasibility and effectiveness, and finally one solution is chosen. This is the most difficult step because everyone has different views, leading to conflicts. Thus, the group leader should have excellent leadership qualities and has to be well prepared. This can be achieved by review beforehand the precise purpose of the meeting. Accordingly, he should decide who should participate in the meeting so as to achieve the best results. Plan for the meeting well in advance and share the problem and purpose with the participants. so that they are well prepared for the meeting. Having understood this background work, we can discuss how a meeting should be conducted to make it most effective. How to conduct a meeting. The group leader should start the meeting on a friendly note with a neutral and unbiased opening statement. Then state the problem and the purpose of the meeting. Encourage and involve all members to voice their opinions and ideas. When the meeting starts to slow down, the leader should try to energize the group to keep the discussion going. After the brainstorming session, the group should evaluate each alternate individually. The group leader ensures that the group does not divert from the main topic. He should also summarize the main points at the end and allocate responsibility for specific actions. The meeting should end on an optimistic note. The group leader or the secretary has the responsibility of preparing the minutes of the meeting and distributing them to all concerned people. Negotiation strategies can be competitive, where usually one party wins while the other loses out. The collaborative strategy results in a win-win situation for both the parties involved. A negotiation is a discussion, not a debate, where one side is trying to score over the other. Thus, a collaborative approach is preferred. The negotiation process can be divided into 3 stages. Pre-negotiation, interaction stage, post-negotiation. Success of a negotiation depends 80% on the preparation and 20% on tactics. Careful planning should be undertaken before starting the negotiation process. A number of aspects should be researched and analyzed. Understand the position of your company with respect to that of the buyer. Assess the competition from other exporters. Decide limits of negotiation. In case of price negotiations, decide beforehand what is the best price and least price that you are willing to offer. Develop strategies and tactics to handle the interaction stage. The role of communication skills in negotiations cannot be emphasized enough. Words count for only 7% of the message being received, 38% is voice tone and modulation, and a whopping 55% is the effect of the body language. It is primarily a play of words, quick thinking and responding. Success of a negotiation depends mainly on listening skills and ability to ask relevant questions. You are listening to this audiobook on Audio Learn IGNOU 13.10. Conclusion. The previous unit of this block has clearly explained the concept of merchandising and the various skill sets required to be a successful merchandiser. This unit has emphasized upon the basics of effective communication and the various ways for employees to exhibit their good communication skills through written, oral, verbal and non-verbal communication methods. Effective communication contributes to the growth of an organization, and there is no denying the fact that if employees exhibit good communication skills, they have the ability to turn a department into a more cohesive and effective workplace. 13.11. Let us sum up. Communication is the lifeblood of an organization. The process of communication and its elements have been discussed along with different types of communication, their merits and demerits. The 7 C's as well as 5 What's and 1 H of communication act as guidelines for all forms of communication: written, oral, upward, downward, formal and informal. The barriers cause an obstruction either in the transmission of the message or in its understanding. We have also discussed written, oral, verbal and non-verbal communication and their importance. The various parts of an email and tips to write an effective email have been tackled in detail. The direct writing method is used for positive and neutral messages, while indirect writing plan is used for negative and persuasive messages. Public speaking skills, report writing, making an impressive presentation and providing effective and constructive feedback have been discussed in detail in order to make the reader understand who is a skilled manager and effective communicator. Conducting business meetings and negotiations require good knowledge of communication skills and a sharp mind and should be well planned to ensure success. 13.12. Keywords. Active listening. It means feeling both the literal meaning and the emotional content of a message so as to understand the message completely. Barrier. It is anything that hinders effective communication. It may be an obstruction, interruption, or even a noise. Brainstorming. It is a method of generating ideas by recording everything a group thinks of, without evaluating the ideas. Channel. It is the physical means by which a message is sent. Claim. A letter seeking replacement of refund. communication, it can be defined as an exchange of facts, ideas, opinions or emotions between two or more persons. Culture, it is the unconscious patterns of behavior and beliefs that are common to a people, nation or organization. Feedback, it is the receiver's response to a message. Flaming, sending out angry or rude emails before thinking of the consequences. Grapevine, it is a form of informal communication in an organization wherein the message spreads in every direction, without regard for the formal or prescribed paths of communication. Jargon, it is a specialized terminology of a technical field. Nonverbal communication, it is communication without the use of words. Oral or verbal communication, it is the mode of communication using spoken words. Unity, it is using only one idea or topic in a sentence, paragraph or a piece of writing. 7 Cs of effective communication, the principles that provide guidelines for choice of content and medium of communication, presentation of facts, adapted to the purpose and receiver of the message. 5 What's and 1 H, why, who, what, when, where, and how. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next video with the next chapter.